Hey guys, Mark here from Rainings.com, and today we're comparing the Microsoft Surface headphones to the Sony WH-1000XM3 and the Bose QuietComfort 35.2. With the popularity of high-end noise-canceling over-ears like the Sonys and the Bose, Microsoft has decided to throw its hat in the ring with a premium-looking headset inspired by the Surface line of products. The Surface headphones are feature-packed with a few unique design choices that make them stand out. But how do they stack up when compared to the two reigning champs, the 1000XM3 and the QC35.2? And being in direct competition, it's a very tough choice, so which one should you get? Well, in this review, we'll be comparing the design, sound, and isolation, which you'll get to hear for yourself later on in the video, as well as the active features and connectivity options. But as always, let's start with what's in the box. As for what's in the box, there's nothing that really stands out. For the Surface headphones, you get a 1.8TR-RS audio cable with an inline mic, but no remote. You also get a USB-C charging cable, the manuals, a nice sturdy hard case, and the Surface headphones. It's about the same for the Sonys, so a USB-C charging cable, a 1.8TR-RS audio cable, an airplane adapter, the 1000XM3, and a sturdy hard case. And for the Bose, it's a 1.8TR-S to 1.16TR-S audio cable, a micro USB charging cable, the manuals, the QC35.2, and a nice sturdy hard case. Now let's get the boxes out of the way and compare the design. So for the design, starting with the build quality, here the Sony have the slight edge over the Bose and the Surface, although all three are very well built headphones. The Sony WH-1000XM3 look a bit more premium with the nice redesign of the headband that more closely resembles the Bose lineup of headphones than the older WH-1000XM2. They keep the same high-end look and feel of the previous models of the lineup with a similar ear cup design, premium materials used for their build, and a flexible headband that as of date does not have some of the breaking issues that were plaguing some of the earlier Sony designs. They feel sturdy enough to be thrown in a bag, and overall the build looks and feels a bit more reflective of the price range than the Bose and the Surface headphones. However, the Surface headphones are still very well built headsets, tied with the Bose in that aspect. They both feel sturdy and well made, but the Surface has a bit more metal in its build. They also have a stylish looking hinge, and the ear cups are somewhat similar to the B&O Play H9, but unlike the H9, the headband is not one unified frame, which could make the Surface a bit more susceptible to breaking where the hinges or yokes connect to the headband. Unfortunately, they also do not fold like the Sony or the Bose, so they won't be ideal to put in your bag without the case, and the all gray color scheme may show a bit more deterioration over time from repeated use than the black variants of the Bose and the Sonys. Lastly, the Bose QC35.2. We've already talked about the build quality in a lot of our previous reviews. They're a solid and decently durable headset, but their overall design feels a bit more plasticky than the higher-end noise-canceling headphones in this price range. There are also a lot of reports online mentioning that the ear cups fabric gets damaged by wear and tear fairly easily, but our unit does not yet have this issue, and we use it quite often in the office. Overall, the QC35.2 are a sturdy headset, but do not feel quite as premium as the Sony and do not have some of the more unique touches of the Surface. However, as for comfort, here the Bose has the upper hand and they deliver a slightly more comfortable experience overall than the Sony and the Surface headphones. The Bose are slightly lighter, have softer padding on the ear cups, and are not as tight on the head. For some, the ear cups might feel a bit shallow and the ears might touch the drivers inside, but for most, they are one of, if not the most comfortable close-back over-ears that we've tested. The Sony are also very comfortable headphones and the best of the 1000X lineup. They're slightly lighter than the older model, have a better headband, they're almost on par with the Bose, but overall the QC35.2 are still a bit more comfortable. As for the Surface headphones, they have more circular ear cups with very thick pads that are quite comfortable to wear. They're also not too heavy, about the same weight as the Sonys, but they're much tighter on the head, which does get a bit fatiguing after keeping them on for a while. The ear cup openings are also a bit smaller than that of the Bose or the Sonys, and overall, it makes them the least comfortable out of the three, but considering the competition, they're still one of the more comfortable close-back over-ears that we've reviewed. Lastly, for the control scheme, and here the Surface headphones do much better than the Sonys or the Bose. The Surface headphones have a unique control scheme with dials on each ear cup for volume and noise cancelling control. The right one controls the volume and the left controls the ANC level. The dials feel exceedingly well made with a smooth mechanism that's a joy to use. They also have two touch sensitive surfaces that you can tap once to take and end calls, as well as play and pause your music. Tapping twice skips tracks and 3 times rewinds. A long press triggers the assistant, and you can use voice commands once Cortana is installed on your device. You also get a physical power and pairing button, and even a mute switch for the mic. Overall, the control schemes feels easy to use, very responsive with good audio feedback, and the inclusion of the dials takes it a notch higher than the Sony or the Bose. As for the Bose, they have a pretty standard 3-button setup for volume, calls, and music controls. The physical buttons are easy to use and have good tactile feedback. You also get a dedicated Google Assistant button that lets you cycle between noise-canceling modes if you haven't set up your Assistant yet or choose to not have it trigger the Assistant via the app. The power switch is also very easy to use and easily lets you pair to new devices, which makes the Bose a simple and straightforward headset to pick up and use intuitively. The Sony, on the other hand, like the Surface headphones, have a touch-sensitive control scheme, but rely on swipes to increase and decrease the volume, as well as skip and rewind tracks. A tap will pause, play, take calls, or trigger the voice assistants if you press and hold. They also have a dedicated noise-canceling button and a few unique gestures, like being able to cover the left ear cup to immediately put the headphones in talk-through mode, so you can quickly pay attention to your surroundings. Unfortunately, the touch-sensitive surface of the WH-1000XM3 has a pretty glaring flaw that will be a deal-breaker for some listeners. The touch-sensitive control scheme is basically unusable in colder climates and freezing conditions like we're experiencing here in Canada. All functions are either randomly triggered or not registered when you try to use them, as you can hear now. If we could just get it through. It's still in the button. It's going into ambient mode, and I can't take it off ambient mode. Overall, it results in a poor user experience that we hope gets fixed with a software update or completely reworked in the next iteration. So overall, design-wise, it's a mixed bag that really depends on what you value more in a headset. They're all fairly well built, comfortable, and easy to use, but the Bose QC35-2 is still the best pick for comfort, which will be a deciding factor for some. The Sony WH-1000XM3 had the best design overall, with a sleek, premium look, but the touch-sensitive control scheme not working correctly in colder climates will be a pretty big deal breaker. And the Surface headphones have the best control scheme overall and a unique look that stands out, but they're a bit tight on the head, so they may not be as comfortable as the Bose or the Sony for most. So that's it for the design. Now let's compare the sound quality, isolation, and leakage with Sam.
Between these three headphones, the Bose has the most neutral sound quality, with the Sony being a bit bass-heavy and the Microsoft having a bass-heavy and a slightly dark sound profile. But before looking at their measurement results, we are going to play a recording we have done with these headphones so you can get an idea about how their sound compares for yourself. Just keep in mind that this is a relative comparison and not an absolute one. So it is good for seeing which headphone has more bass or treble, for example, but you won't be able to judge their actual sound profile. And if you get one of these headphones and listen to the same track that we've used here, you most likely won't hear the same thing. Here we have the frequency response of the Surface on the left and the XM3 on the right. And as you can see, the Surface has a deep and extended bass, but it shows about 5 dB of overemphasis around mid-bass and high bass. This brings a bit of extra punch to the sound, but also makes their bass noticeably muddy. The XM3 has a similarly hyped bass, except that the overemphasis extends down to 10 Hz. So although their bass is going to be a bit muddy like the Surface, but it produces more thump and rumble in the sub-bass region, which fans of heavy bass may prefer. In the mid-range, the Surface shows a 10 dB tilt favoring lower frequencies, which is going to make the mixes sound cluttered and the vocals and instruments a bit pushed back and thick. The XM3, on the other hand, has a pretty well-balanced mid-range, so it will sound more clear and more accurate on vocals and instruments. The treble of both of these headphones is noticeably underemphasized, which means their sound lacks presence and brightness, especially on vocals and leads. But between the two, the Surface is significantly darker sounding than the XM3. Now, if I pull up the frequency response of the Bose QC35-2 on the right, you'll see that overall, it has a more balanced sound profile compared to the Microsoft and the Sony without compromising on bass and treble. So overall, if you're looking for a neutral sounding headphone, our recommendation would be the Bose. And if you prefer a bit extra bass, then go with the Sony. If you want an even darker sounding headphone, you can go with the Surface, but we don't really recommend that. I would also like to mention that out of these three, the Sony is the only one that comes with an EQ on their app. So if you're not perfectly happy with their default sound, you will be able to customize it to a good degree. Now, in terms of frequency response consistency, these three headphones seem to use their noise cancelling system as a feedback mechanism to check for their fit and seal. And because of that, their bass delivery is quite consistent across multiple users and receipts, which is great. This means that regardless of the size and shape of your head, and whether you wear glasses or not, you will always get the same amount of bass with these headphones. I have to add though that the Surface showed a bit of drop in low bass with one of our test subjects, but this will be pretty subtle and not noticeable to most people. The treble delivery of these headphones is not as consistent as their bass, but still, this is within very good limits and better than most headphones. Now, for isolation and leakage, we have also recorded a comparison, which we're going to play now. First up is isolation. As you probably noticed from the recording, these three headphones have very good active noise cancelling systems, with the Sony and the Bose being among the best over-ear ANC headphones we have measured so far. The Microsoft Surface performs quite good too, and matches the other two headphones in the mid and treble ranges. So it is great for cancelling the chatter of an office and blocking the sound of an air conditioning system. In the bass range though, they perform slightly worse than the Sony and the Bose, but they still can reduce the rumble of airplane and bus engines to a good degree. Overall, the Sony has the best ANC out of the three, with the Bose being a very close second. The Microsoft comes as in a close third, and we would recommend the other two headphones only if noise cancelling in the bass range is very important to you. Now let's listen to the leakage recording. In terms of leakage, the Surface and the XM3 perform quite well and are nearly identical to each other. With these two, you won't need to worry about disturbing the people around you as long as you don't blast your music and are not in a very quiet environment like a library. The QC35-2, however, leaks noticeably more, so you would have to be a bit more considerate with those in terms of volume. With the Bose, if you listen at a loud volume in a relatively quiet office, it is possible for the people around you to hear what you're listening to. Now, let's go back to Mark.
And now for the active features. For wireless range, the Windows Surface headphones are the clear winners. They maxed out our obstructed range in the office, maintaining a stable wireless connection all the way to 72 feet. It's much better than the Sonys or the Bose, which are still good in terms of wireless range, but if you're often paired to a fixed source like your TV or PC and walk around your home or the office, then the Surface are definitely the better choice. They're also one of the best headphones we've tested for direct line of sight range, maxing out our testing facility and reaching all the way to the far wall at 296 feet, which is excellent and considerably better than the Bose or the Sonys. As for latency, here it's about average for all three headsets. The Surface have the least base SBC latency, but do not have any additional codecs like the Sony's, which support aptX, aptX HD, and LDAC. With aptX enabled, the Sony's do about as well as the Surface, but all three headphones would not be the ideal choice for watching videos or gaming wirelessly, with 220 milliseconds for the Bose, 224 or 200 milliseconds with aptX enabled for the Sony's, and 201 milliseconds for the Surface. It's fine if you're listening to music, but you will notice the slight delay in lip sync if your phone or the app does not somewhat compensate for it. We should also mention that we do not yet have LDAC support on our current test bench, but this feature is in the works and should be available in a future test bench update. For battery, here the Sony's have the longest lasting battery life at 27 hours compared to the Bose's 20 and the Surface's 13. However, the slightly better charge time and power saving features like smart pause, auto off, passive playback, and audio while charging means that the Surface can easily last about as long as the Bose or the Sony's when managed correctly. Overall, if you want the longest battery life, then the Sony's will be the better pick, and thankfully the addition of an auto-off timer in the app gives you a bit more control over the power-saving feature than the previous model. However, the lack of audio while charging might be an issue for some if you often use your headphones at the office next to your desk with a power source readily available, but it's not a big issue for most, and all three have passive playback, so if they run out of battery, you can always use them wired with the provided audio cables. Lastly, for the app support, and here the Sony Headphones Connect app offers the most customization options and is one of the best companion apps that we've tested. With this app, you get access to a great 5-band EQ, room effects, codec options, noise cancelling settings, including an auto calibration feature that adjusts the level of ANC depending on your environment. It's a great and well-made app which puts the Sony's a step over the competition in terms of customization options. Comparatively, you have Cortana for the Surface headphones, which works better on PC than on mobile. With Cortana, you get a full-fledged assistant, so voice commands and calendar scheduling. However, on mobile, we couldn't get access to the same EQ as on Windows. Even then, it still doesn't give you as many options as Sony's app. The EQ is very basic and you don't get any room effects or any ANC settings. Bose also has a mediocre app with very few customizable options. You can adjust the level of noise cancellation. You also get an in-app player and status information for the battery life, but the lack of an EQ, room effects, and deeper noise cancelling settings makes the Bose feel a little bland, especially compared to other wireless noise cancelling headphones in this price range. Lastly, for the connection options, all three are Bluetooth headphones that work passively with the provided audio cables, so you can use them wired even when the batteries are dead. The Bose and the Surface headphones have the slight edge in Bluetooth connectivity since they can pair to two devices at once, so you can quickly switch between your PC and your phone. The Sony does not have this feature, but you do have a workaround for partial multi-device pairing. You can separate the media and call Bluetooth channels, so you get audio from your PC and can still receive calls from your phone. Unfortunately, you won't be able to quickly switch between playing audio on your PC and on your phone without going into the Bluetooth settings, which is a bit of a hassle. On the upside, the Sonys have a USB-C connector, which helps with fast charging, but sadly, it does not have audio over USB. This is also the case for the Surface headphones, which have USB-C, and the Bose QC35-2, which have a micro USB connector. It's not a big deal, but would have been a nice added feature. One last note, the Bose have a 116 connector, so the typical aux cable will not work with the headset, unlike the Sonys and the Surface. So in the end, which headset should you choose? Well, it's a tough choice, and overall, all three headphones perform well enough to be your daily drivers, and you shouldn't have any major issues going with any one of the picks. It all depends on what you value more. The great noise cancellation, comfortable design, and super easy to pick up and use aspect of the Bose QC35-2 makes them a strong contender. They also have the most neutral sound out of the three, but still pack enough bass to sound exciting with most tracks. However, the lack of customization options from the app and the somewhat plasticky feel of the build quality, as well as the relatively high leakage, may not be ideal for all listeners. In this case, the Sony WH-1000XM3 would be the better option. They have a much more flexible sound profile with an excellent companion app that gives you more control over the active features, as well as an excellent EQ and even codec options. They also leak a little bit less, isolate a bit more in noisy conditions thanks to the self-calibrating ANC feature, and they have a longer battery life overall. They also look and feel a bit more premium too. Unfortunately, the touch-sensitive control scheme being almost unusable in colder climates is a big deal breaker for some. And lastly, the Surface headphones are a good choice if you care about a unique design with an excellent control scheme, good noise cancellation for traveling, and great power-saving features despite their shorter battery life. They're also a great choice if you're already using Cortana on your PC or have a Surface line of devices and you just want to complete the set. Unfortunately, they are a bit tighter on the head, which will be less comfortable than the Bose and the Sonys. The Cortana app is not as efficient on mobile and doesn't offer any additional noise cancelling options or room effects to customize to your liking. The shorter battery life also means you will not be able to use them as long as the Bose or the Sonys, and since they only come in this gray color scheme for now, they may show a bit more wear and tear over time. And that's pretty much it. You can check out all our measurements on our website, and if you like this video, subscribe to our channel or become a contributor. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.